create a, so we first have to make the corrections. So this one I intended to all be uppercase, so instead of retyping it again, I simply come to this particular part. It's referred to as the change case space, whereby you can change from lower to upper or mixed cases. So in this case, I want to change it all to uppercase. Because it is a heading for a letter, I can bold it and at the same time underline it. So now this is my sample letter. I've called it invite. You can notice here, normally we say at the point of at the title bar, when you save a document at the title bar, that name you have given the document appears there. So now you can see we have our Ernest Young. Now if you have a signature, you can go to the signature part and involve it, or you can simply just choose to sign using this. We go to insert, go to shapes, and using the freeform style, you can scribble your signature. So now you can change the signature accordingly to a darker shape. So there we have our letter. It is this letter we are going to send it to those three people we created in that data source initially. So how do we do it? Now I think this is okay. It is always important to have your work justified. Now why do we justify? Let me just undo this. Let me undo this action. You notice at the right margin point, the letters don't seem to be arranged properly. So we normally want our work properly adjusted. So we use the justification alignment so that all the letters are from the left to right margins and they are contained within the document. So now we have here two. Two means that person we are going to send this letter to. And we have dear. Now what does dear mean? Dear means I want to greet somebody, and when we are doing formal letters, we greet these people in a formal way. And that is why you find we are having these titles here addressed here. So now it is time to start mail merging using this mailings feature. So I'm going to click on the mailings feature. At the mailing feature, you notice all these tools. Some are highlighted, some are not highlighted. Once I select a recipient, these fields that are not highlighted will immediately be highlighted. So the first thing I do when I go to mailings, I was at home, I go to mailings, the first thing I do is to select the recipients. So you see, once I choose select recipients, there's options, 3 options: to type a new list, or to use an existing list, or to choose from Outlook contacts. All these are possible ways of creating recipients, but for us, we have already created a list. So now we use an existing list. So we choose the second option, use an existing list. Immediately it links you to this place to select data source. Now you can see this window is about selecting a data source. Our data source, remember, we saved it in desktop, so we choose desktop, and I'm going to look for this data source. I think I referred to it as data source 1. That's how I saved it. I'm going to choose the data source. It will appear here. The name which you gave your data source will appear here once you choose on it. Then you click on open to open it. Once you have selected a recipient, now you notice every other area has highlighted itself. Now, we are not going to use address block or greeting lines. We'll go straight to insert match field. At insert match fields, we only had 2 fields. Remember, our table had 2 fields, the title and a name. And this is all what we find here. So we are going to place our mouse where we want to send. We want to send to somebody, the title, space, and choose the name. So let me just put a space before title. So we are going to send to title name Sawa. So now we are going to greet this recipient. We are going to greet them maybe dear, with a name to personalize this letter. And that's it. These are the only areas where we want these names to appear. The rest is common information. It applies to everyone, but we are going to customize it so that every person receives this letter. Once we have identified the areas where we want to use mailings, and we are confident we have inserted all the details that we want, we can preview our results before we finish and merge. So maybe let's see, when you preview, the first person was Mrs. Henry Juma, and then we are dear Henry Juma. Sawa. If we go to the second record, Mr. Damson Maoka, dear Damson Maoka. The third record, Sir Dr. Salaharu. Sawa. So now that's what about preview, and we are convinced that that's how we want our mailings to look like. Once we are finished, then we just come to this point, finish and merge. So we are going to click on finish and merge. Again, we have three options. We can edit the individual documents, or we can choose to print all the documents, or we can choose to send them via email. But for now, we first want the individual documents. So we choose edit individual documents. In this case, we are not choosing, we can choose any record. So already all is highlighted. We have current records, or you can choose current record, or you can choose from maybe record 1 to record 2. But for now, let us merge all the records so that we have all the three recipients, each with his own or her own document. Now when you click OK, you will know that you have all your documents. On this corner, the left hand corner here, you can see we have page 1 of 3. There are a total of 3 records here. Now this letter will appear the same for each of them. When you scroll down, you can see this letter appears the same. It is the same document, except that it has been personalized so that every person in that data source receives the same letter. So when we are convinced that we have done our job well, we can simply now save. It is important to notice when we clicked on merge and finish and merge, we got a new Word document with the merged letters, and at the title here, it is letter 1. So now as we close, if we close this information, if we close our window, we must save this, otherwise we are going to lose all these merged letters. So we save our work. Again, we can save it on the desktop. We are going to save it as merged documents. For now, I've saved it merged letters in my desktop. So notice when I closed, and then I'm going to also save this one. I'll not discard it. I will save it as invite. Now on my document, on my desktop here, we have 2 letters, the invite. Now look at how the invite, when you open the invite, this is what happens. So do you want to continue? You can say yes. It's going to open for us our template. Now this one becomes a template. It will have a title and name and dear name. If I open the merged letters, I'm going to get these individualized letters to the 3 people whom we had created. There we have the merged letters to the 3 people we had created. If I go to the other one, where did we save the data source? Data source 1, it was in documents.
The first one up there, the left up. Left up.
Oh, yeah, let me just move it here. Drag, drop, you remember. Just want to drag and drop it here so that it is nearer there. My data source was this one. This is how it looks like, 2 columns. One with a
The first
title,
one
another one
documented.
with a name. And we had 3 people, Mrs. Henry Juma, this one, Sawa. Now that's why we have 3 letters, 3 merged letters from one common template. Now we can always choose to have this information in one folder. So how does it happen? You right click on the desktop, anywhere on the desktop, choose a folder, give that folder a name. I'm going to give it merged because it is about merged information, and I'm going to drag all this information into that folder. So that now my folder has the 3 information that I need to help me to merge. So I hope this session was clear and that you have understood. Just follow the instructions carefully and you will be able to send even invitation cards to so many. You can just always have a template. This one is a template. You can say yes, we have our templates. So what happens here? This one is your template. This one is your template, the original one, which we are going to send to everyone. The invite, there goes your data source in a table format. And finally, we have the merge letters to the 3 recipients. Now, in all our exercises, let us not forget to include, in all our exercises, let us not forget to include our names as header. So maybe I can give it a name as header. Always put your name as header in every exercise that we do in Word.
Even during exams.
Thank you very much.